Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Rave, Diaries and Tower Block Tales with yours truly, Uncle Doug's in the building. As always, before we go anywhere, I would just like to thank everyone that's been watching all the videos that I've been putting up, whether it be on this channel, the Rave Diaries, on the Run Come Follow Uncle Doug's playlist with all my video diary stuff, or the brand new archives channel that we're getting there with, but yeah, thank you to everyone. The comments, the likes, the subscribe, I love it, man. But the comments especially on this channel, what I'm loving, I think I've said it before, is this little community hub thing we're building, and people are replying with their versions or their stories or their add-ons to things that we're talking about. And now what I'm seeing is other people are now talking to these other people. So we're building more stories on top of one story from all different perspectives, and that it's something that I never really thought of. When I started doing these, I just thought it'd be me telling you like news, like, oh yeah, I was there, or I don't remember that, or whatever it may be. But it's becoming this thing where stories are popping up that we didn't know about places that we went to, or times that we spent with each other, and it's given a whole new perspective on stuff. So thank you to everyone that has commented on the Rave Diaries and Tower Block Tale stuff. So right, today's episode. What have I got to show you first? So the first thing I'm going to do is show you this, right? So you're going to be like, what is that, Doug's? I hope that comes out all right. So basically that is a little, what is that shape called? Oval. Is that oval, isn't it? Yeah. It's a little plastic, now listen. It's a little plastic token, and on it says, one ride. So that there, that comes from the first ever rave that I went to. So the question that I've been asked the most, it's funny because the question that I get asked the most if I do interviews to do with my DJ stuff is like, you know, what was the first rave you went to? So I feel like I've told this story probably more than any other story. And funny enough, in the comments and under all the different videos, the question that I've been asked the most so far is, what was the first rave you went to? So even though I've told this loads, I'm going to tell it one more time properly in its entirety, so it's on this channel for anyone that wants to know where it all started personally for me. So the reason that I've got this token, so start from the real beginning, Doug's. I didn't go to any raves. I wasn't into raves until 1991. The first rave I went to was Raindance The Egg at Jenkins Lane, which was the Easter rave of 1991. I think I mentioned in a previous video, the tune or the moment that got me away from live bands and rock music and pop music or whatever I was into. I mean, I like De La Soul and a few other little things that were around at the time, but predominantly I was into more the band stuff, you know what I mean? Radio Babylon changed everything. And I decided I want to go to a rave. So I was 16. I just turned 16 in January of 1991. I was a small little kid. Like, I mean, I grew up in height as I got older, but when I was 16 I was a little kid, and even though I thought I was streetwise and I had an answer for everything, I was a naive little kid. That's what I was. And I wanted to go to I wanted to go to Raindance because it was my local rave, and previous to this event I would be going to football at the time because I was still playing football up until I was 16. It actually changed. My career changed from wanting to be a footballer to a DJ at this rave we're going to talk about. So, but when I would be going over, I played for Leighton Orient in them days. So my dad would drive me up to Orient, and we'd go down the A13. And you'd see the big tent, like a mountain marquee thing over where the old football pitches were, behind the dump at Beckton on Jenkins Lane. And I'd see that, and it always intrigued me, even before I wanted to go to a rave. Like, I'd started to know that raves were happening, you know, through the 88, 89 period. They was in the newspapers. By 1990, people that I knew, not necessarily my friends from school, but people around the manor were starting to go to raves. So I was getting first-hand stories of these raves that were happening. Albeit I didn't know anything about them. I was very naive I smoked some puff back then, but I didn't know. Kids at school were doing acid, but I didn't know anything about drug culture really, apart from smoking and selling a bit of ash to my mates, which I did at school. But that was about as far as it went. So I had two older cousins, Jamie and Daniel, and they had a big crowd of friends. Really good group of people, man. Still talk to some of them now. I'm going to mention Jackie was one of them because we lost her recently. and I have to mention her because she was like the queen of the group. And then there was Emma and Todd, my cousin Jamie, Daniel, Andy, Jay. There was a crowd of them, and they was all like anything like from 3 years older, which was my next cousin up. The one above him, Jamie, was 6 years older. So the group I was knocking about were all like 6 to 10 years older than me. Lloyd Anthony and his missus, Roger, DJ Busby, Joe Public, there's a bag of them. Like they was like my idols, you know what I mean? But I didn't know it at this point. So I said to my cousins, they were going to raves, they were older than me, and they were trusted within the family circle because they were, you know, they went to school, they got good jobs, they'd done all right for themselves, they didn't get nicked, cause trouble, or any cause for concern for the family. So they were going out already to a rave. So I spoke to them and said, look, I want to come to a rave, da da da. They said, as long as your mum and dad says it's all right, you can come. So I went up to my mum and dad and I expected them to say no. I was going to try and sneakily find a way to go anyway, but to my surprise, they said yes, because they trusted my cousins, stupidly. Do you know what I mean? Stupidly, they trusted my cousins because in the eyes of the family, they'd never really put a foot wrong, unlike me. So I bought a ticket. I've actually got, do you know what, I'm going to do a bit on clothing memorabilia, and I've actually still got the first t-shirt that I bought to the first rave that I went to, Raindance The Egg at Jenkins Lane. It's a Benetton, red Benetton. Still fits me and all. We'll put that on record. Still fits me. I have worn it recently to play at an event. But anyway, back to the story. So, the next event, I've just turned 16 in January. The next Raindance event was The Egg. And I can't remember the actual date of it. I think it was the end of March 1991. So I went to buy my ticket at Boogie Times in Romford, and I got my Raindance ticket. And the funny thing is, I haven't got a flyer or a ticket for that event because I didn't know at this time what it was going to mean to me. How mad is that to say that now? So I don't have any actual proof that I was there in terms of like a ticket or a flyer. And how my life's turned out, what raves, you know, everything. I met my wife at an event. It's been everything to me. And to think at that point, I didn't think it was important to keep the stub of the ticket or get a flyer to the event I was going to. It's absolutely mind-blowing, but there you are. So I haven't got a flyer and I haven't got a ticket, but I have got this, which we'll get to in a bit. So, with Raindance at Jenkins Lane, it was in a place where, if you know the A13 in Dagenham, if you know the A13 coming out of Dagenham, going up into the city, you come through Barking, and just before you come out of Barking into Beckton, on your left-hand side, you've got a place where they take all the rubbish, like all the rubbish dust carts go there and all of that. And then there's some football fields next to it, but they have 5-a-side, 11-a-side football and all of that. And so there was a big grass arena there, and that is where they held Raindance. So when you drove past it going into London on the A13, you look to your left, Raindance is there behind a bit of gating and all of that, but you could see it. It was just in a field, big, huge big tops and fairground and all of that. So there was no parking there though, because it was on the A13. It was like a bit of a whirl road. You had to go under the bypass, back under, and then you pull up at the gates, and literally it was like a bit of waste ground kind of with a road next to it, nowhere to park at all. So what they had you doing was you had to drive up to Beckton Ski Slope, which was, for them that don't remember it, a dry ski slope. I don't know if it was the first in the country, but I know it was pretty early on. We used to go there when we was at school, which would have been like 88, 89, and it was a big mound, dry ski slope with a couple of jumps and some of them and a clubhouse. And it was sick. When we were young, it was sick. You didn't want to fall over on it, mate, without the right club on, because it'd chop you to pieces. It was like little hexagon things that you'd ski over, and it was like glass, bro. But anyway, that was on a trading estate, so you had a couple of like factories and bits and bobs, loads of parking over there, of course, on a Saturday night because they're all shut. So what Raindance did was you would park your car down there, and they run a relay service with coaches. Right, do you know what, guys? I've just randomly found myself coming past the top of Jenkins Lane, right? So what I've done is I've pulled in, And I'm not going to do a video because I've already done the video, as you've noticed, because you're watching it and it's just paused to give you this bit. So, but because I'm here, I thought maybe I could just sort of like drive around this corner in front of me, and when I get around the corner, because I don't want to film while I'm driving, I'll pull up where Jenkins Lane, like Raindance, was, and I can at least show you a little bit more so you can get a little bit of more of a feel for the video. All right, 2 seconds. Right, so picking up again, let me turn the camera around. That road in front of you is the A13 going across the top. And basically you had to, where that lorry just went past, going towards our left, right the way down there is Beckton ski slope, yeah? So you park your car there, and then they put you on the coach, and then there's like the other side of the A13, so now you're coming back down towards Essex. There's a little slip road, and it brings you around in a loop, under that bridge there, where that little truck's going now, and to this place here, and then behind here, all this overgrown stuff here, yeah, this was the way in basically. There's a field behind, I mean it's a power leak now, so behind that is cut grass and that, but you walk down here, and this gate here, this was the way in. So they'd be all security, it was packed, mate. Do you know what, I ain't been here, let me turn that round. I have not been down here for years, and do you know, when I just drove the car to park it out and I come past, I could picture it all in my mind's eye, like a video, like being 16, my first ever rave and all of that, and like, these gates, just even seeing them, even though I never took it in, I know that like how I felt and what I remember and all that walking through them. So let me turn it around. So I don't remember the metal barriers being there, I just remember going in through these gates and kind of like there was a ticket office just over there to the right, and then the rave was kind of like you walked into it over there, the fairground was right over to the left, the big top was straight in front of you. Oh mate, yeah, so having a proper little reminisce here, I'm telling you. But yeah, so that's Jenkins Lane. Anyway, back to the proper video that I've already done. At the time, obviously, when I recorded that, I didn't know I was going to be coming past here, but I thought I couldn't drive past and not pull over. So yeah, back to the video. So we parked the car up. I would assume there would have been, I can't remember, but probably 3 or 4 car loads of us, probably maybe 12 to 15 people, probably. I was by far the youngest. I looked about 10 when I was 16, baby face, with all of these older lot that are like, they've been going to all the Soul Weekenders, Camber, Prestatyn, Caister, all of that. They was already seasoned in clubbing, and then they'd been raving for ages, and obviously the whole drug culture that went with that, they'd been immersed in that for a long time before I even knew what was about to hit me on this night. So, park the car up, we get on the bus, we're going to Raindance. It's only like 2 minutes up the road. So we get on the bus and there's music playing on the bus, everyone's exciting, floppy hats and flipping dungarees, and it's that era there, do you know what I mean? And at this point, you know, obviously I knew of ecstasy and I knew of drug culture outside of having a puff, but I've never been like sort of privy to being a part of it, do you know what I mean? I've just heard stories or been around people that were doing it, not me. So anyway, we're on the bus, and it's just a normal bus, 2-seat, 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 2-seat. And I think I was sitting on my own, and my cousin Jamie turned around to me, and he just sort of looked me square in the eye, and matter of fact, he said to me, "We all do pills. You ain't got to do one, but if you're going to do one, I'd rather you done them with me," which is quite a sensible thing to say. Considering it was like quite hedonistic times and we had no education of drug culture. It was just a sensible thing for an older cousin to say, and he probably knew what I was like. I was quite a wild kid, so it was inevitable that I was going to take drugs when they was offered to me at a rave if everyone else was. It's just that's how it was. So I said yes, and I was given this little tablet. Funny thing is, learning about ecstasy afterwards, like I did, the tablet that I actually took on that night wasn't good. Not as in it was bad, but it wasn't like the feeling that I got when I did my second tablet, which is a story we'll tell on another day. The rave was Living Dream, yeah, at the Eastway sports stadium thing over in Lane, where Westway is now, over Stratford, over that way. Anyway, back to this story. So I've got this tablet. I've stashed it up, I've got my ticket. Now I'm walking up to the door, it's not even a door. Now I'm walking up to the gate of this sort of like, you know, it's like a park. There's a big fence all around it, like where you would go to a festival now. And there's these massive like meathead security. Back in them times, security weren't ramping, mate. Ain't like now where they've got the badges and it's all official. Them man back there will punch you up, put a bat round your head, put a torch round your head, drag you off in a car, bury you over everything like them times. So, you know, I know all these things, and I'm trying to puff out my chest, and I'm with all the older lot and all that. But obviously, I'm like 5 foot in a shirt button. I look about 10, and I've got confidence and bravado that anyone with real confidence is going to look at and think, this kid, not even a geezer, this kid is full of it. But I have my fake ID in my back pocket. I bolt straight in. No one even batted an eyelid. I give the man the ticket, he ripped the ticket off, give me my film back, boom, I'm in Raindance. I'm in Raindance. So, we've gone and had a look around. Now, my first impressions, that I remember were, it was a big spectacle to take in. You know, up until that point, my clubbing experiences were going into Romford and going to like a pub club, or going to a cheesy Sharon and Tracy type club, maybe Kings or something like that, up in Seven Kings, or like you know, under 18s nights and stuff like that. I didn't have any massive club experience at this point, so my first memory is obviously you're looking around and like I'm in this massive big top in a field, and there's like thousands of people just going, come on, doing the old acid and all that. So they had a big fairground now, and I remember I think there was a lorry, the back of a lorry that maybe had some seating in it, I remember, and an ice cream van, just, you know, stuff you get at a rave back then. But to me it was all like, do you know what I mean? Like everything was blowing my mind. Like, not even the music yet, that hadn't even started to blow my mind. It was just that many people in one place, just kind of like roaming around, you know what I mean? It weren't like going to a concert. When I went to see the Rolling Stones at Wembley, we were in Wembley. This was different. This was totally different. So we went over. Now, my cousin said if we do the tablet and we go on the fairground ride, you come up quicker, which is true. Like, I did do that a few times after that. But on this night, like I say, because it wasn't a proper one, because it wasn't a proper one, like the guy that gave it to me was someone loosely associated with us. Like, they all had different ones. I ended up with one because I bought it on the night. They already had theirs already, so theirs were fine. Anyway, I've gone on this ride, and it was the Hearts and Diamonds. I've gone on this ride, and I think it's called the Spider. You know, the one with the arms with the 3 cars on, and then there's arms with each of them on, and it spins around. And mate, I swear it raves the fairground. Anyone who works on a fairground, you'll be able to tell us this. I swear the fairground rides at a rave went faster than any other fairground ride, any other place in the country that I've been to. Whether it be the Waltzer, whether it be that Spider thing I've said, the Arts and Diamonds, it always felt like he was going faster. Maybe it wasn't, but anyway. So I bought 2 tokens. One of them got me on that ride. When we come off that ride, we was just like excited to get back into the thing. We'd started to sort of come up, even though mine weren't great. I felt something, so I followed my cousin like with my tongue out like a little puppy into the event, and that went into my pocket, and I've kept it ever since. So that is actually a fairground token from the Spider or whatever you call it ride at Raindance The Egg, Jenkins Lane. That's why I brought that out. Anyway, walked into the rave, and if my memory serves me correct, in my mind it was Slipknot playing, but because I didn't know anything or anyone then, I can't say that for sure. But I'll always credit Slipknot because, you know, he deserves the credit for this part of my story. I walked in there and I didn't know one tune, I didn't know one DJ, I knew nothing. Like, as little as you can know about a scene of music, I knew that much. And the first thing that struck me was that when you go and see a band, even if it's a lead singer with a band, or even if it's a singer on their own without a band, they're on a microphone and they're commanding a performance. What struck me first was the DJ was up there. Hardcore General was the Raindance MC back then, but if my memory serves me correct, nobody was on the mic for a good little while when I first got into the tent. And it blew my mind that when the piano dropped, everybody raised their hands. And when the vocal come in, everybody sung. And when the DJ clipped the music or whatever, people cheered. And it absolutely blew my mind that someone could have that much control over. So, I mean, I don't know how many people I used to get over Jenkins Lane, but it was packed. And he had this much control without having to say anything. You know, that was the first thing that blew my mind. And then I started to sort of like mooch about and have a little look around and that, and I started to bump into people that I knew from the manor, but the older kids, because out of my year at school, I was the first one that started going to raves. I ended up taking my friends from school to their first raves, or they found it later down the line and I saw them at raves later down the line. But I started to see the kids that was in the year above and the year above that. And it's funny because, you know, when you're at school, they would be up in the older years, and they're always like, they'd say hello to you, or they might fucking try and beat you up or whatever, depending on your relationship. But it was always like that. The relationship was never the same. And when I first saw all of these people, like I could name a bag of names, with Paul Cordingley and Dave Chipperfield and people like that I went to school, they were 2 years older than me. When I saw them in the dance, we met like that for the first time ever. And you know, it was such a beautiful thing that Rave did that. There's all that talk about football hooligans and black and white, which is all true. But also, things like that, like there was no hierarchy. As soon as you got in there and everyone was on one, we was all the same, whether you was the younger kid at school, the older kid at school, the bully at school, or the bullied. Whatever it was, we brought it together like that. And I tell you one thing that stood out from that night. So, previous to that, I lived in a place called Dagenham, as you know, and my nearest tube station was Beacontree. I lived in between Beacontree and Heathway, but Beacontree was slightly closer. And I had a little bit of a run-in with the local yobbos up at Beacontree when I was a kid. And they was a bit tasty, and all to be fair, they was a bit tasty, out of my league a little bit. And there was a lot of them, and never really a troublesome kid like that. You know, I had the mouth, but I wasn't really like into the fighting thing. But I got into a bit of ag with one of them, and then it spilled out that they all wanted to kill me for years. So I couldn't go to Beacontree for a long time. I used to have to get off the train at Dagenham Heathway and walk back that way and all that. And any time I saw them, I'd have to duck out of the way because it was, you know, it was on site. They was on me. I walked into the rave, and like I say, I see all these people that I went to school with, and I'm with my older lot now, so I'm like, I'm all right. I'm with older people now. If anything comes on top, even though I weren't thinking like that, looking back now, I would have been fine. The people that I were with, they was fine. They could have handled stuff, but I bumped into these lot from Beacontree, yeah, and the mad thing is, when I saw them, my heart sunk, because I just thought, oh, I was having such a good time, and then I saw them and I thought, fuck, you know what I mean, this is me. And you know what? They all come over and come. Obviously, they're all on one and all, weren't they? They're all come over. Duggins, we never knew you went to Brother. How long you been coming round? Well, we never knew you come Raindance. Brother, come. Do you want a drink? Do you want this? Do you want a split? Do you want that? And it was like everything over the last 2 or 3 years from our school days that like they've chased me, or I've had to hide, or do you know what I mean? Just stay out of their way. Because let me tell you, I won't tell you what they used to get up to, them lot, but they were quite a tasty firm, and some of them went on to be quite high level in that kind of criminal fraternity world. But you know, when we were kids, there was a firm that was travelling about, and they all backed it. And like when you're walking on your own down to the train station when you're like 15, you just don't need that in your life. But yeah, it was like that acceptance of like, forget that, this is a new era. And it's my version of the football hooligan thing, where they couldn't be in the same thing. I wasn't into the football hooligan thing, but I had local trouble and local beef with local kids, and rave culture, and you know, ecstasy culture and everything that went with it. It done that to the point of when I used to see them out, I would sometimes like roll with them. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I would go down to where they used to hang about and all that, and I would have a little smoke and be with them. Not often, but I didn't have to avoid it. And it's just so mad that like that night there, so much of a life change, you know. And of course, that was the night after I saw Slipmat and them DJs doing what they did. I literally changed everything in my life that night. I wanted to be a DJ. I didn't really go and see a band for a long time. I mean, nowadays I love a band. Of course I do, you know, but there was a time in my life when like I just dropped all that out for a few years, and I was like focused on learning every single thing that I could learn about this rave stuff that I'd kind of stumbled into. Yeah, what a night, changed my whole life. And I mentioned it earlier, I was playing football at quite a higher level. I was on the verge of signing for Leyton Orient YTS. Well, I say on the verge of signing, that was their decision. But I was on the books at Leyton Orient, and they were due to give out the YTS things, which for you that don't know what that is the youth training scheme. So years ago when you left school, if you didn't have a job to go into, a lot of companies would offer a thing called YTS. So in my era, you get £37.50, and then you would go to work for a year, and then if they wanted to keep you on, they would then take you on as an apprentice, and da 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 da. So I ended up doing it in plumbing, but the football world worked the same. And do you know what? I went to that rave. I never went back to Orient again after that night, ever. And funny thing is, I had a friend called Mark Warren, who I haven't seen for years. I always loved Mark. Mark used to go to the raves with his mates and all. They used to hang about around the Markgate Library in Dagenham, and I ended up becoming really good friends with a lot of them as well. Steve Yorkie, who's probably going to watch this, and Jamie Fairbrass, and all of you lot that used to knock about around now, ended up becoming good mates with them lot. But Mark Warren and me played football for Orient at the same time, and he went on to carry on playing football. He still used to go to the raves, and he used to like getting on one and all, but he would still go and play football at a high level. He ended up playing for the Orient first team as a man, and he went on to play for a few other teams, and he had a career in football. And obviously, once he grew up and got into it seriously, he knocked all that on the head. But in them first years when he was YTS and apprentice, we would see him out and about. He would be, you know, I'd be with them. Dougie as well. How could I forget Dougie? I have to mention Doug while I'm talking about them, like Dougie Chaplin, sorry. But yeah, Mark was a good footballer, and he straddled the rave and football thing as long as he could. Then he went into football. I went into rave. That's how it goes. Would I have been a professional footballer? Probably not. I weren't that good. But we'll never know. But I'll tell you what, I don't regret it, because the flipping times I've had in this rave thing, from that night at Raindance, I wouldn't swap any of them for anything in the world. So that is the story of my first rave, Raindance. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching all the way through. Some more of my old spiel. Yeah, that's it for another episode of Rave Diaries and Tower Block Tales. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, if you haven't already. Don't forget to tell all of your friends that used to go to the raves and to the record shops and all of that. This is what we're doing. And the most important thing of all of it is, don't forget to comment with your versions of these stories under these specific Rave Diaries videos especially. I love the comments on the Run Come Follow, Doug's, Uncle Doug's and the archives. But this is really important, because we're building history while we're going here. I'm giving you my version, you give me yours. They live in the comments section forever. When we're all long and when we're long gone, them comments will live forever. And one day, people will be able to pick all of these up, and they'll be able to tell the story of our times when we lived in the world of rave. So anyway, guys, peace and love to you all. Big up the original Raindance crew, of course. I didn't mention that earlier. Shout out to the original Raindance crew that started Raindance, and then of course you have to big up Richard Raindance, who carried the baton from very early back in the day right up until now, still going now, of course. But yeah, that was my first rave, and will always live in my heart for that reason. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Peace and love as always. Be lucky, you lot. Yeah, we out of here.